What up? What up? It's Garage Gym Homie, man, and today I'm talking about my friend, my friendship with Rob from LA. Is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button. I got content coming out all the dang time for you, man. So click subscribe and let's get into this. Man, I just kind of like on a roll right now, documenting my life. I did the Dark Labs Crack OG pre-workout review, and somebody commented, we want to know more about Rob from LA. And it got like a ton of likes, man, on that comment. So I was like, you know what, man? This is actually kind of a story worth telling. I'm just letting you guys in on my life and where I came from, and just so you know, man, just to give you a background of who I was and who I am now, so you can see the power of God. Anyway, man, I met Rob in prison, and I was at Shafter Prison in 2009. I got there, and Rob was a dude who was in my dorm. I was in a dorm with like 70 people, man, and Rob was one of them. He's a white boy. And Rob walked up to me on the yard one day when I was walking the track, and he was like, we started walking the track together. He's like, hey, man, I want to tell you something, but it's got to stay between me and you. He said, I'm Jewish too. I never, ever hid that I was Jewish, man, like in all of my time being incarcerated. People advised me to hide it. They're like, hey, man, I wouldn't tell people you're Jewish. I mean, you might not want to tell people you're Jewish, this or that. I always felt, I guess pride would be the only word. I felt, like, I always felt like I had too much self-respect, man, to pretend to be something I'm not as far as that goes, just from my upbringing and stuff. So I never, man, from jails to prisons, ever hid the fact that I was Jewish. People would say, hey, man, you look Armenian. Are you Armenian? I'd say, no, I'm Jewish, man. And, oh, okay, whatever. So it wasn't really till prison that became a problem for me to be Jewish. Maybe a little bit in LA County Jail, but prison, there were very large packs of skinheads that were in numbers. Even my own people who were white people hated me. A lot of them were skinheads. So there was a lot of problems, but that's for another story. So Rob walked up to me on the yard, man, and Rob was a big dude, man, big, heavy guy, fat guy at this time, and because, eating that prison food off the crystal meth, all that stuff. And he said, I just want you to know I'm Jewish. Rob had a freaking swastika tattooed on him, man. Rob had a swastika tattooed on him, and I found out later that Rob had been to prison. He told me, he'd done like at least four prison terms, man. And that was his fourth one when I was with him, I think, fourth or fifth. And he always got caught stealing. He had a meth addiction. He was always stealing or doing this or that. And I guess he earned the tattoos from the white boys by putting in whatever work he did in his previous terms, and they tattooed him up. He claimed he didn't know they were going to tattoo a swastika on him. I don't know if that's true or not. Rob wasn't the most honest guy that I knew, and neither was I. So, and I told him, man, right then, I was like, dude, that's weak as heck. I was like, I'll never hide that I'm Jewish. So we became very close friends in prison. And we used to sell tobacco together. I was selling weed, all this stuff, man. Like, there was a lot going on in prison, and prison was a crazy place. And me and Rob got real tight. And Rob used to tell stories, man, about the streets. He wasn't actually from LA. He was from Ventura County. And he used to tell me all about what he used to do on the streets and this guy and that guy. He was a really good storyteller. And he used to tell me about this girl, Michelle. And man, he would always speak highly of Michelle. Rob would always talk about, I got this little hidden gem in Ventura. She's great. She's the most fun ever. He would drive her around. She was a stripper, and then she would, you know, like do some side jobs or whatever, you know, without going into too much details. He would just talk about this girl very highly. I could tell he was like in love with her maybe. And I'd hear all these stories about her, man. And I was in the process in prison trying to find a rehab to go to when I got out. Because there was always that feeling in me that I wanted to get my life together. So I was going to parole to a Jewish rehab, very well known through the country, called Beit Teshuvah. And it's in Los Angeles, California, by Culver City. And so I was writing back and forth with the rehab, and I got a full scholarship there they offered me. So it would be completely free stay. And this was not a cheap place. And they would, you know, let me parole the day I got out. I'd parole there. So anyway, man, so my buddy Rob, since he's Jewish too, and he told me he wanted to get his life together, I told him this place gave me a free scholarship, so he started writing back and forth with them too, and he also ended up getting a scholarship. Now, he wasn't going to parole till a few months after me. He had a longer term than I did, and this was a guy, man, on his last prison term. He was freaking sitting there. He had just done like 3 years, dude, like 3 years, and he was about to he was sitting in the waiting area to leave prison, and he got irritated and hit the glass and was like, hey, are you gonna let us like out of here soon? Like, they made him sit for like 12 hours waiting to get released from prison on his last term, and he broke the glass by accident. On his way out, they threw him back in for like another 12 or 18 months or something. Something insane happened where he accidentally broke the glass by knocking on it because he was like impatient to leave prison, and they threw him in for another 18 months or something. It was nuts. So this guy is such a character, dude. I mean, such a funny guy. So we get out of prison. I get out of jail. I get out of prison. My ex-girlfriend, who's the porn star I told you about in the previous video that I talked about, picked me up that day from the bus stop when they released me from prison. We spent the day together. Then she dropped me off at the rehab that I paroled to. So I'm at that Beit Teshuvah place, and Rob has a cell phone in prison because, you know, they were all snuck in and stuff. And I'm telling him the rehab's great. He paroles there a few months later. I had already been kicked out of the rehab by now. Okay, I spent about 3 months there, and then I got the boot for getting high and sneaking out with hookers, all this crazy stuff, man. So I got kicked out of rehab on my birthday, and Rob paroles there a few months later. By now, I already have my own apartment. I'm like back totally 100% in the game, balling, acting like a maniac, like just out of my mind, man. And Rob is at the rehab. So now he's sober. I'm getting high again. So Rob has enough, man. He's got enough pretty much. He has had enough being sober, man. So he calls me, and I say, come on over to my apartment in Santa Monica, and we're getting high together now. Rob's living with me. We're having a good time. Well, it seemed like a good time. And we were going to do some crazy stuff, man. Rob had a settlement from years before from an injury that he had. He had a lot of money saved up, a lot of money from an injury that he had, and Social Security money and stuff that accumulated, a settlement and Social Security money that accumulated while he was in prison. He had a lot of money, and we were going to invest in a mansion in LA that we were looking at renting. You can rent mansions, and we were going to start a business called Porn Star Drama, where we put like 5 or 6 porn stars, 7 porn stars, whatever it was. These were huge houses that we were going to rent for thousands a month, and put webcams in them and have these porn stars live together and have a website about like real life porn stars living together, because the porn industry was insane with drama. And I saw it firsthand when I was dating my ex-girlfriend, just how insane the drama was. So we were going to start a pornstardrama.com. Rob was going to front the money, go in on it with me because I knew the girls and everything, and we were going to get this mansion. So what ended up happening is we were partying like maniac. I guess you could call it partying. We were getting high. You know, I like crystal and heroin. He's a crystal guy. He never got into heroin. And we're living together now. I'm letting him stay at my apartment as long as he wants. Finally, after a while, I got raided. You know, Rob was there. These porn chicks were there. 3 other homies were there. It was like 5:30 a.m. We'd been up all night, and the cops kick in the door and raid us. And this guy, Rob, he's like sitting there completely naked in the living room. I was in the other room. He's naked with a freaking laptop, probably jerking it in the apartment, you know, maniacoed out for days, whatever. The cops arrest me. They arrest me. They arrest one other girl, and they let everybody else go. And I got bailed out the next day. I don't know. I didn't know who bailed me out. Turns out the bail bondsman heard about me, that I got in trouble, and I knew a girl who I used to get high with who worked for the bail bondsman, and told him like, oh, this guy got arrested. He's good for it. You should bail him out. He'll pay you back. I didn't even know who bailed me out. I had to make 100 phone calls to even find out. This guy bailed me out assuming I'd pay him back, the bail bondsman. So none of my homies bailed me out. And I'm dope sick and all this stuff. So I get out of jail, and now, you know, like, this is when things really start falling apart for me in my life, like financially. I mean, I lost everything financially then, and Rob was nice enough to front the money to a lawyer. He paid for my lawyer out of that money. The Porn Star Drama now is secondary. All that stuff's out the freaking window. And so he fronts the money for the lawyer and all that. So I got a deal. I got a real great deal then with a lawyer who hooked me up, where I get to go to rehab and then be on felony probation instead of going to prison because of the raid. So it was what you call a joint suspension. You sign the paperwork saying, I'm agreeing to go to prison for X amount of time, but right now we're going to suspend it. And if I complete this rehab and complete felony probation, I don't have to go to prison. All right, so of course you sign it because you don't want to go to prison. So I went to the rehab, I came out, got back, hooked up with Rob again. I mean, I was nowhere near ready to be sober, man, at that time. Went to a rehab called Acton in LA. And me and Rob became friends again. And, well, we were always friends. So he brings around this girl, Michelle. And Michelle is the one that I heard about throughout the whole prison time. So me and Michelle, we didn't really hit it off. It was cool, whatever. We hung out for the night, me, Rob, her. And I think she even had a boyfriend with her. And so whatever, I didn't see her for a long time after that, for a while after that. And me and Rob are still starting to get on shaky ground now. You know, he's getting kind of on my head for the money back from the lawyer. I'm just trying to like make ends meet and satisfy my dope addiction and keep the dang lights on in my apartment, basically. I mean, things were starting to get rough, and a lot of stuff I was doing fell apart to make money. And so I'm kind of just getting by, in LA. And Rob's, he's starting to get resentful of me, and I'm resentful of him. He did a lot of weird, shady stuff. And, but he was there, man. Like, there was this girl that worked for the bail bondsman that I told you about. And she was also a dope head. And she worked it out with the bail bondsman. She set me up where I had not paid, I'd paid back the bail bondsman like everything. I think my bail was $120,000, so I had to pay 10% of that. I think I paid the bail bondsman at this point like everything except like $1,000. She set it up so the bail bondsman sent bounty hunters out to get me, kicking my door at the apartment. And the bounty hunters came to get me. And I'm sitting there getting high. This girl is telling me, yeah, I'm going to drop off some dope for you. Da, 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 da. Are you at your apartment? I'm like, yeah, I'm at my apartment. I'm dope sick. So she sent the bounty hunters to kick in the door to come get me, to revoke my bail, so that I would have to bail out again on 120. So all that money I paid got revoked, and I'd have to go pay another. They revoked my bail. The bail bondsman did. And I have to go pay someone else 120 grand to get me out. So I am the bail bondsman. The bounty hunters kicked in the door. Then I tell the bounty hunters, can I please make a phone call so I could get my stuff straightened away, because now my door's unlocked in my apartment. They kicked it in, so the door's completely unlocked, so all my stuff is like can get stolen or whatever. So I get a call from Rob, and so I call Rob and I say, please come to the apartment and lock it up. I'm going to jail right now. The bounty hunters just came to get me. And Rob calls the number back from the bounty hunters. About 10 minutes later, he got to the apartment. He said, dude, I just freaking got in a fight with somebody. They were in your apartment. That girl, Alyssa, and this other guy were in your apartment bagging up everything. Rob tells the bounty hunters on the phone. He said, I just want you to know they were bagging up everything. He calls their number back. He got in a fight with the guy. He walks in my apartment. The guy says to Rob, LAPD, and points a fake gun at him or something. And Rob fights this guy who's in my apartment with this chick bagging up everything. This girl worked for the bail bond. So he was there, man. He looked out for me, and they took me to jail. And when Rob had to go to the hospital because he cut his foot fighting this guy. They came back. He chased them out of my apartment. Once Rob went to the hospital, man, they came back and they finished the job. I got out of jail. Everything of mine was stolen. TV off the wall, my clothes, my jewelry, freaking everything in that apartment. My whole life was gone, man. So that apartment was like cleared out now, completely screwed. They came back and finished the job, man. So that apartment's like done now. So, and I can't even really afford to pay the dang rent anymore there. So I was just completely screwed. So now, Rob still has money and he's helping me out a little. He had some methed out chick who is friends, I guess, with Michelle, deck out his van. He had a Land Rover, and they pulled out the back seats. They put curtains in it. They decked it out, so it was like a cool spot to hang out or whatever. So sometimes, like, I would stay in the back of there, and then I was living out of motels now at this point. I mean, completely everything fell apart. Are you keeping up with this story, homie? Like, I was pretty much living out of hotels at that point. And he brought Michelle around again. This was months later after the first time I met her. And then we hit it off. That's when we hit it off, really. And it was like, we hit it off, and it was freaking like, we never, from the day that we hung out that day, me and Michelle didn't leave each other once for 2 years. We rolled in LA until I came home. That was the last 2 years. So Rob got really jealous when me and Michelle got together. Like we were just, it was completely out of control, because me and Michelle were like, we hit it off and we started dating. She was my girl now. And Rob was really jealous of that. And that's kind of when we started splitting ways, but we would see each other. We'd get together, me and Michelle and Rob, to like get high or whatever, and do whatever we were doing. Have safety meetings where we'd go in the dang car wash, get high, pass it around and say what we wanted to be when we grew up, all that kind of stuff, man. That's how great, out of my mind I was, man. So, we started getting like real paranoid of each other, man. Like we were kind of had this relationship where we hated each other, but we loved each other. And every time we saw each other, like we'd have a good time, or, but we'd still like kind of be shaded out by each other, that we were ready to kill each other. And it was an out of control friendship, man. Like me and Michelle were pretty much just getting by in LA, whether we were staying in motels that were subsidized by LA County, or there were times where things were better, and whatever it was, we were basically on the streets, man. Like living in Michelle's car until that got impounded too, and a lot of craziness happened with that. I'll make more videos, but Rob's still out there. He's still out there, I think, doing the same exact thing, man, getting high. He was a lot older than me. There were times after he started getting high again, he lost a ton of weight and was looking good. But we had a super toxic relationship, man. I mean, super toxic, crazy relationship where we just had like the best time, talked junk, had a lot of laughs all the time, man. He was really the only person from prison that I had any interest ever in seeing, And I think that he's kind of past the point. I don't know if he's ever able to get sober. I'd like to think he is, but he has many, many years of crystal use, man. Many, many years. So I think he's kind of burned out, and it's probably taken a big toll on his brain. He was about 12 years older than me, man, at least. Maybe 13 or 14 years older than me. And he's a guy I think about a lot, man, because we had a lot of just insane times. Like he had a friend named Ronnie, and there was this place called the Bluffs where up between LA and Ventura, Ronnie had a 10-person tent between the mountains and the ocean where there wasn't anybody for miles. And I ended up staying there for like weeks with Michelle, just with nobody in sight, man, just getting high, detoxing off dope, getting high. And like, this is the life that I live, man. This insane craziness that I'm describing to you, man. So Rob introduced me to Michelle, man, from prison, which was pretty insane because she ended up being my roll dog out there, man, for a very, very long time, 2 years. And she's sober now, man. She got sober a couple weeks before me, and she's doing well. She's still doing well. She's got 10 years sober now, and it's just amazing. I don't think that would have happened if the two of us didn't meet. So we'll pray for Rob, man. Rob stopped talking to me. We stopped talking because we talked on the phone here and there up to probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I was I got a call from him saying that he got a notification that somebody from Chicago hacked into his Facebook or logged into his Facebook from an account in Chicago. And since I'm in Michigan, I was the closest to Chicago that he knows that it was me who did it. I'm like, yo, Rob, man, I'm like 6 years sober at the time. I'm like, I'm 6 years sober, bro. Like, I don't have any interest in like hacking into your Facebook, dude. Like, he couldn't, I could just tell he's too burned out, man. So, anyway, man, there was just a lot of insanity, but I try to put it out there in this video to paint a picture. We used to go to continental breakfast together, man, and, you know, like all the time at hotels, we would get up and like go pretend we were members of a hotel and walk in and eat free continental breakfast in the morning. There were just 100,000 scams that we had, and it was just a good time, man, dealing with that guy. But he was definitely a character, and I just hope he stays out of prison, man. So God bless Rob. And I don't know why I really made this video, man, but I thought it would. People said we want to know about Rob from LA, man, so that's the story. God bless all of you, man. Together, let's get this dang muscle. I'm out.